I keep saying it would take a basement full of Red Bull and Cheeto-fueled bloggers to keep up with all her lies, and we try.
Democratic Visions is handmade in Eden Prairie and Minnetonka by DFL Senate District 42.
Carbon dioxide is perhaps 3% of the total atmosphere that's in the Earth. So if you take a pie chart and you have all of Earth's atmosphere. With the President's signature on the health care bill today, the federal government has now taken outright ownership or control of 50% of the American economy.
I want people in Minnesota armed and dangerous on this issue of the energy tax because
we're running out of rich people in this country.
Yeah, we are. We are running out of rich people.
Obama. For sheer tonnage of wingnuttery, we're going to give the award to Michele Bachmann. Here's just one of the many, many comments she's made this year. When freedom is tried, the people...
And now to counter that nonsense, a vigilant Michele Bachmann watchdog. Eric Pusey helped form and writes for the Minnesota Progressive Project. Eric has a very wide reach in the new media and has become one of those go-to guys at AM 950 radio and Fox 9 News when lefty sparks are required. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now tell us about Congressman Bachmann. Give me 60 seconds on where Michele Bachmann is and where she's going.
Well, first off, she's definitely in her own reality. She lives in a world which you and I can't see. The skies are different colors. Different things happen. So we see an election, she says something entirely different. She is continually taking her view of the world and pushing that, irrespective
of the facts.
Exactly. And that's what's so entertaining from our perspective. We watch this nonsense and we just go, how can she get away with it? And then she does.
But isn't it a choice of forums? I mean, she's on Fox, and Fox just let her spews that nonsense, do they not?
Yeah, it's very entertaining, and Fox is very much about entertainment.
But why isn't the local media, with certain exceptions such as yourself, why aren't they all over her?
That's the big question.
Well, why aren't they?
I don't know. I can't answer that. I mean, that's one of the things I've been harping on for a long time. They have always, when she first ran for school board and then ran for the state senate, they have always given her a free pass. There has never been the tough follow-up question. You know, like what they did with Tom Emmer. I wrote a post at the end of the year, compare and contrast the way they treat Tom Emmer with how they treat Michele Bachmann.
They gave Emmer pretty much of a pass.
No. They made him continually answer the question, how are servers earning $100,000? He had to live with that embarrassment for weeks and weeks. They actually did follow up with tough questions with him.
Excuse me, that's probably one of the great political moments of theater that I've ever seen.
I know, that made my top 10 pieces of video for this last year because it was just so ridiculous. He's just standing there and he's giving a press conference, you know, work in the media. His campaign is just starting and he talks about how, you know, servers at places like this make upwards of $100,000, maybe more. And then it gets really quiet and people start asking him questions, you know, well, wait a second. How is this that they're making so? And then it just became the Waitergate that kept going on because Emmer refused to back down.
Okay, so your point's well taken. At least there, the mainstream media took him to task for that kind of statement. But that doesn't resolve the question that we're struggling with. Why doesn't someone either locally or nationally just take Michele Bachmann and expose her for what she is, which is nothing?
Yeah, I can't answer that. I mean, I have, you know, no journalist will answer, you know, why they refuse to do any analysis of what she says. No, public radio, NPR, now has their polygraph, which on 2 occasions, if memory serves me, they've actually analyzed the facts. But typically, they steer clear of that. They stay to the horse race, they stay to she's controversial, or they do puff pieces. I recall one being about her makeup. Now, the rare occasion when they will say something that isn't really good for her, like the Star Tribune, they will put it on their blog and then they will bury it in the Metro on a weekend.
Hot dish politics? Is that
exactly, because they do that recap on a Saturday, and it's with dozens of other topics. And when she has told a bald-faced lie that she's been repeating nationally, and they just don't talk about it.
It looks like she was rebuked by Republican House leadership recently when they denied her a spot in the House of Representatives Republican leadership. Do you think that that's going to have any effect on her future abilities and performance?
Actually, it will, and it'll have a positive effect. They did the same thing in the state Senate. They didn't want her in any position of power because she's embarrassing. And you know, she has these loony things that she keeps on saying, and they didn't want that in the Senate. She used that as a springboard for more crazy and higher profile. So I predict that she's going to do the same thing.
But she has organized a Tea Party movement in the House of Representatives. Do you think that that's got any legs?
I think it does because it's a springboard for her. I mean, she is all about self-promotion. So this rebuke will just simply, she'll use it for more fundraising, she'll use it for more organizing to build her movement, which is really around herself. I mean, if you watch Sarah Palin, Palin's doing the same thing, that anything happens, it's always about her. So it's just a way that she can further build her power base.
So do you have any egregious examples of her, shall we say, fabricating the truth that you'd care to share with us?
Yeah. At Minnesota Progressive Project, I built this page called the Michele Bachmann Bizarro World, where I've categorized and organized from like her insane statements to her homophobia to labor to seniors. You know, because she keeps talking about we need to.
Excuse me, but is this a labor of love on your part?
Yeah, I did the same thing to Norm Coleman at my old blog, Minnesota
Really?
Blue,
Good for
with the
you.
Norm Coleman Weasel Meter, and that was a lot of fun. And now I have another writer, Bill Prendergast, and I are writing, trying to cover Michele Bachmann. It's a lot of work. I keep saying it would take a basement full of Red Bull and Cheeto-fueled bloggers to keep up with all her lies,
Okay.
and we try.
Okay, no, I interrupted you.
That's okay.
Tell me, give me a couple of examples.
Right. Well, the Obama lie that Obama was going to India and it was going to cost the taxpayers $200 million a day. When confronted with it, she said, well, I'm not really concerned if it's true or not. I simply read it somewhere. She read it in an Indian newspaper that isn't of terribly high repute, if I recall correctly. And she just, when she was attacked, she then used it as a fundraising mechanism. I've been attacked. Give me money. My favorite is really the one that got her first media attention. Do you recall in 2007 at the State of the Union, she groped President Bush, more or less. She had her hand on him and just would not let go of the poor guy.
That was
and you
very
could
funny.
see him like trying to draw away. And that was her first like national embarrassment.
Right.
And then Chris Matthews, where she said there are people in Congress, members of Congress, who hold anti-American views. And Matthews called her on it, and that then got Elwyn Tinklenberg $1.2 million.
I understand that.
And it still didn't do.
Right.
But
Tea leaves would suggest that, particularly if there's reapportionment, doesn't leave the 6th district in a necessarily a favorable political lie. Michele is going to run for Senate against Amy Klobuchar in 2012. I would predict, probably safely, that would be the most expensive election ever conducted if that takes place. Do you disagree?
no, not on the expensive part. It would be fascinating. I'd love to cover it. I'd love to watch the media try to cover Michele Bachmann as she runs. You know, will any of her past statements come up? And I'm fairly confident to say that our state's media will not cover anything she says that would embarrass her, because they haven't up till now. Nationally, that is going to get us a tremendous amount of attention on this state if she ends up doing that. You mentioned reapportionment, though, and how we're going to like move our districts around.
Yes.
If anything happens with the 6th district, I'm betting that that district gets more conservative. Now, she may need to move westward from Stillwater to stay in the district, because Stillwater may go to the 2nd district.
Well, it's going
Or,
to.
yeah.
There's a big population in the
Yes.
6th district, so it's going to have to shrink.
It's going to shrink. I think it's going to stay most conservative, and that's going to, if she wants to remain in office, her ticket is to stay in the 6th district and move somewhere nearer to St. Cloud. The longer she can continue her presidential campaign without running a presidential campaign, without having to declare, just boosts her visibility. And as long as she can run for Senate without declaring for Senate, it just boosts her visibility, which is all she really wants. Because if you look at December, all of a sudden she had, in 1 week, 14 media appearances. Why? Because people wanted to talk to her.
Well, we have Senator Klobuchar with exceedingly high favorability ratings. It would seem like a effort that wouldn't be worthwhile undertaking to run against her, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily not going to happen, does it?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Well, but
I'm just going to be fascinated with how this goes.
You're the expert. So
she certainly could.
So let's talk a little bit about Minnesota Progressive Project. You write under the moniker the Big E?
Yeah, it's kind of my handle. It's been my email handle for years and years, and I decided to do that. I'm not doing it anonymously because you can always find out who I am, but it stuck.
What interests you, and what do you write about in addition to Michele Bachmann's follies?
Well, a lot about the media. Particularly because
you a scold?
I am a scold. They anger me.
Yeah.
I try my best to cover what I can on local politics. I'll have a lot of stuff coming up this session about what's going on at the legislature in particular, because we're going to have a lot of really crazy conservatives.
Yeah.
We're going to say a lot of really, really wild stuff. So part of it is I want to write stuff that draws traffic, but also expose what the Republicans stand for. And they stand for standing up for big business, standing up for the rich guy, and obviously some pretty crazy stuff, because their caucus is just going to be nuts this session.
Well, what do you predict will be on the ballot in 2012 as respects constitutional amendments?
I actually just had a conversation with a state representative who is telling me that the Democratic House caucus is trying to put a rule in so that you can't start talking about constitutional amendments until you've dealt with the budget.
Well, how are they going to put a rule in? They're in the minority, for gosh
They can
sake.
still propose it.
Well, of course, but
Yeah,
you know.
it might happen. There are ways to finagle things, and these, I trust the representative that they're going to try their best to get that in there. The danger is if they try for too many really crazy ballot initiatives, it's going to backfire.
Okay.
Because what we on the left will be able to do is just say, look at the laundry list here of really crazy things. Just vote no on all of them. We don't have any ballot initiatives up. If you see a ballot initiative, vote against it.
So now, switching subjects a little bit, Eric, it occurs to me that with decreased revenues and readership, that mainstream media in Minnesota is on the wane, and probably even worse than that. Is there any way that they can possibly recover going forward?
I see a death spiral of the reducing revenues. They have staff cutbacks, so they can't do as good coverage. Less people read it because of the poor coverage, meaning more layoffs. Where are the journalists who are doing that really groundbreaking investigative journalism? Where are the big papers doing that anymore? If you look nationally, it's the Rolling Stone, it's the New Yorker. These are not traditional places. The Star Tribune rarely ever does investigative journalism. Public radio hasn't done investigative journalism since they busted ADM for the price fixing, and then ADM became a sponsor.
Is the world ahead of us to rely on MinPost and progressive bloggers like yourself to have some idea of what's going on in the world?
I believe so. That's where I'm positioning my blog, is so that people can go to Progressive Project and see, the news that won't get covered. So that's why I'm continually trying to, build up the people who are writing with us and the areas that we're covering.
Eric, it's good to meet you, and come back to Democratic Visions whenever you can.
My pleasure.
Thanks. Thanks for watching. I'm Tim O'Brien.
Democratic Visions is handmade in Eden Prairie and Minnetonka by DFL Senate District 42. Norbert Gurnis, Chair. Democratic Visions can also be seen on our website, dflsd42.org.